Do you want to know how Jess scored a luxury vacation to Istanbul that would have cost over $5,000 for less than 500? Keep listening to hear how she got there, where she stayed, and her favorite things to do in Istanbul. Welcome to the Travel Hacking Mom Show. We are three moms who've discovered how to leverage credit card welcome offers to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in travel expenses for nearly free. We've used credit card points and miles to take vacations to places like Hawaii, Paris, Greece, the Maldives, Italy, and so much more. And the best part? We each still have an 800 plus credit score. Imagine being able to book a vacation without having to check your bank account. It's totally possible, and we're here to show you how. Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Pam, Alex's mom.
And I'm Jess. We are travel hacking moms.
Jess recently returned from a trip to Istanbul, and we can't wait to hear all about it. I, for one, love Istanbul and have my own funny story to share with you about my time there. But first, Jess, tell us all about how this trip came about, how you got there, and where you stayed.
I just want to say I love Istanbul. Like, it exceeded all of my expectations, and I cannot wait to go back. But this originally came about because I have three girlfriends who I used to work with, and we sort of made it a tradition recently to go on a trip together once a year. And so we were trying to decide where we wanted to go. Two of us are in Houston, and then one is in Seattle, and one is in Lexington, Kentucky. And we had been just doing domestic trips, but we decided we wanted to do international. And we were able to find some amazing flights that I'm going to talk about now. So we are all huge fans of Turkish Airlines. And we just happened to be, I just happened to be searching the Turkish website for award availability. And I realized that Houston, Seattle, and Chicago all had 45,000-mile business class flights to Istanbul from like all the airports we would be flying from on the same day. So I proposed we should fly Turkish Airlines to Istanbul. And then one of my friends has been to Istanbul before, and she was like, we should just stay in Istanbul because it's amazing and the food is really good and the culture is really good. And so we were all on board. So my friend and my other friend who lives in Houston, we booked for 45,000 nonstop from Houston to Istanbul. Another friend booked Seattle nonstop on Turkish for 45K. And then my fourth friend, she's the one who lives in Lexington, Kentucky. Obviously, they don't have Turkish Airlines flights from Kentucky, but she positioned to Chicago, and then she booked a 45K business class flight from Chicago to Istanbul.
So, Jess, I'm curious, did you get them all into travel hacking then? And I'm assuming, I don't have four friends that are into travel hacking. I have, one or two. So I'm curious how they all happen to have points and miles.
That's actually really, really impressive. I cannot think of four friends that I could say, hey, you guys, let's go and book these business class flights together. It would be crickets.
No, so Tracy is one of them. She's the one who got y'all know, and she got me into travel hacking. And then the other two, one of the other one's name is also Jess, and so it gets a little bit confusing. She has been travel hacking for a long time, probably longer than I have. She's just not.
Did Tracy get her into it too?
Yeah, she's just not as intense as I am. Like, I open cards all the time, and she's a little bit more reasonable with the time that she leaves between opening her cards.
It's kind of like, oh, there's a good offer and it's been a while. I'm low on points. Maybe I'll get one now kind of thing. Like, she just doesn't travel as much as you, so she doesn't probably need very many points.
Yeah. And then my friend Sarah is the one who lives in Kentucky, and we finally got her on board maybe a couple years ago. And so we were basically like, either use our travel hacking or we're traveling without you, or you're going to pay cash. And so she didn't want to do any of those things. So she decided to start travel hacking.
What card did she get? I'm assuming the rest of you, you've been doing this a while. You knew what cards to get. What card did your friend get? Did you say her name was Sarah?
Sarah. Yeah,
Okay.
She got the Venture X.
Okay. So you guys were like, this is a great card. You got to get it.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have the plan of like, it wasn't like, hey, get this card so we can do this exact redemption, right?
Exactly. No, we had just recommended that one because Capital One miles are really valuable. And, I'm always recommending cards with flexible points usually. And so she also has like a Sapphire Preferred. She's gotten a couple of ink cards since they increased to 90K. And then she got that Capital One Venture X. And so that's how we all transferred miles from Capital One to Turkish. And that is how we each booked this flight. So it was 45,000 Turkish miles and $215 in taxes for nonstop for all of us to fly to Istanbul, which is pretty amazing.
Well, first of all, that's seriously an amazing steal to find that 45K flight. Secondly, my thoughts as you're talking about your friends and everybody having the points is I can think of some friends who I was like, hey, if you get this card, we can go on a trip like this. But the hard part is you've got to get your friends going a year before you want to do it because you don't know when that availability is going to pop up. So that is my thing is I need to get my friends to get some cards now so I can be like, "Hey, we could go on a really cool trip like this." But I feel like I don't know if people listening or have this same thing where you're like, "I want my friends to do this, but it's really hard to get them involved sometimes." And then they see you do the trip and they realize, "Oh, I could go on a business class flight for 45,000 miles. That's amazing." But then it's like too little, too late. I'm already booked my flight and I can't wait for you to get your points because the redemption's gone. So it's just
Yeah.
another case in point of where having a stockpile of points can be the difference of you going on a trip or sitting at home.
Well, I love this. Jess, you are such a good friend to get your friends all going to plan this type of a trip. I always say that friends don't let friends sit in economy while you're sitting in business class, but that might also encourage them to get more points. I actually have a friend that I travel a lot with. She and I'm always sitting in business class. She's always sitting in economy. And I helped her get some more points, get some more cards. And we are going to Greece in the spring. She's going on her first business class trip. And I can't wait to watch her do that. So, Jess, you're such a good friend.
Actually, can we give a shout out
I
to
try my
Tracy?
best.
Tracy
I'm just
Tracy's the
like,
real hero here.
yeah, Tracy's really the one that deserves the shout out because she got me into it and our other friend Jess, and then we all collectively
And
basically just
Sarah's
bullied
thanking you
Sarah
all now,
into doing it.
hopefully.
So it was really nice because we were actually on the newer Turkish business class on the 787, which I had never been on before. The time I flew Turkish before, we were on their older business class that has like the 232. This time we were on the 121. And so it was really nice to just have a little extra privacy. Just, I got a window seat, so I was kind of by myself. And it was just nice to have the extra space and the extra privacy. So I really liked it. Of course, we have raved about Turkish Airlines before. The service, the food is still my favorite of any business class product that I have flown. That did not change. It was amazing. And so, I will take any excuse to fly Turkish Airlines pretty much from now on.
And I've only done the older business class, and yeah, like, the setup isn't as nice looking, and if you're traveling solo, it's definitely not ideal, but I still thought it was amazing even with the seats not being as private and it being a little bit older because their level of service is so good.
I actually feel like I got a really good sleep on that old plane also because sometimes even though the newer business class offer more privacy, it's like I feel kind of like claustrophobic sometimes when I'm trying to sleep in those just like pods. So I actually slept really well in the older business class where it's just open. Um
Well, and don't the newer one, they have kinda like the angled seats, right? And so you have a smaller footwell,
yeah. Yeah.
and I'm with you. Even though it's not as, like, nice looking or fancy, the ones where you don't have those enclosed pods and it's more open, they don't have the angled footwells, they're just openness, and I'm with you, like, I feel like I sleep better in those too because I mean, and I'm a small person, I'm not very tall.
I don't really know how people that are bigger sleep as comfortably because I feel like my feet get kind of crammed in those footwells sometimes.
So the moral of the story is Turkish is amazing. Capital One and Citi both transfer 1-to-1 to Turkish Airlines. So if you've got points with either of those banks, then you can get yourself a business class flight to Europe for 45,000 miles one way, which is a steal of a deal. So highly recommend it. As far as where we stayed, of course, we stayed at a Hyatt. We stayed at the Park Hyatt Istanbul. That is a category 5 Hyatt, which is actually pretty low as far as Park Hyatts go. So it was 20,000 Hyatt points a night. We were there for 3 nights. The nice thing about Hyatt is although we needed 2 rooms because there were 4 of us, and we all know that Europe can be a little bit tricky when it comes to room occupancy limits, with Hyatt, you can transfer your points to anyone, any other member, as long as they're a Hyatt member. And so we were able to, all 4 of us chip in for those points. So I effectively paid 10,000 points a night. And then I roomed with Sarah and she paid for her half. And so it worked out really well. I was looking at the rooms before this episode, and you can fit 2 adults and 1 child in a standard room. So if you're a family of 3, they consider children between the ages of 0 and 12. And so if you're a family of 3 with a child 12 or younger, you could fit in 1 room. But if you have more than that, you're going to need 2 rooms to stay here.
I did not realize that you only paid 20,000 points a night to stay here. Because looking at the videos, so if you go to our Instagram page, you can see Jess made a story highlight all about her time here. The room in the hotel looked amazing. So that seems like a really good steal for staying at the Park Hyatt for 20,000 points a night. And it looked like a super nice one.
Yeah, Istanbul in general is really affordable. Coming from the States, like the dollar is just really strong there. And so everything about our trip was affordable, including the Park Hyatt. Probably the most amazing service and hospitality I have ever had at a hotel ever. And that's saying a lot because I've stayed at a lot of nice places. We landed in Istanbul. I actually organized transportation through the Park Hyatt. There are a lot of options. There are taxis you can take. You can go on Viator and find transportation. But when I'm traveling to somewhere new for the first time, I'm willing to pay a little bit more just to know that a taxi's not going to inflate the price and I'm not going to get scammed and all that stuff. So I just felt better going through the Park Hyatt for my transportation. But if you don't want to spend a little bit extra, there are other options. So someone picked us up at the airport. Super nice. He called the hotel when we were just maybe a few minutes away to let them know that we were arriving. And when we pulled up, they're standing outside with a bouquet of flowers waiting for me. I felt like Kate Middleton. I was like,
That is insane. That I can't even imagine someone just having flowers waiting to
Were
reach
you
you.
like, what's happening right now?
well, at first I didn't realize they were waiting for me. I thought they were doing something else. And then
You were waiting for Kate Middleton to come out.
And then I got out of the car and they were like, "Oh, Miss Field, it's so nice to meet you. Welcome to the Park Hyatt." And they hand me the bouquet. I was like, "Oh, this is for me?" So yeah, it was a great way to start out the trip because I was not expecting that. And then they checked us in. He insisted on escorting us to the room. We got upgraded to, I think, a deluxe. It wasn't a suite. It was just a king deluxe room, I think. And he opens the door, and it is a beautiful room. There was a picture. Most of you have probably seen this. They had printed out a picture of Alex and Pam and put it in a frame. They put it in a frame that said Park Hyatt Istanbul, and they put it on the bedside table. So I walk in and I'm looking around. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And they say, "Wait, is that Alex and Pam?" And he says,
I think this is the funniest story. I mean, thing is, they had to have looked you up to find out about
Well,
us.
they had to
I
find
mean,
the
that is
picture. They had to
above
go
and
find a
beyond.
picture and print it off.
So he says, "Yeah, that's your mom and sister, right?" And I could not bear the thought of telling him no because I could see how excited he was, and I was just like, "Yes, thank you so much."
That is
So
seriously the cutest thing,
and
though.
I still don't know where that picture is from. Like, it was like a picture I had never seen. I maybe the blog?
It's from a blog post, I think, about Maui, but it's not like a featured image on our website. Like, they had to, like, search the blog probably to find the right picture that was just me and my mom. So funny. My favorite thing, though, is that picture has since gone on multiple trips with Jess that we haven't been able to be on. So, that Park Hyatt Istanbul gave the gift that keeps on giving. We can go on every
It's
trip with
funny
you.
because I just keep it, it folds flat, and I just put it in my laptop sleeve, and, like, that goes everywhere with me, and so
You should start taking that picture.
yeah.
Yeah. Can you start taking that picture out every place that you go that we're not with you? And it's like, "Oh, I'm at the Tower of London with Alex and Pam," and have someone take a picture.
But, yeah, and the room was amazing, it was huge. They had wine, and finally, one of the travel hacking moms got to drink the wine, and they had treats. I mean, they had Pam would have been in heaven with the amount of treats they had out there. Our room had a steam room in the room. I had never had a steam room in my room before. So, for 20,000 Hyatt points and $0 a night, the Park Hyatt Istanbul is a steal.
You know, when I went, I stayed at the Ritz-Carlton, and it was in the days when you got a Hyatt card, you'd get, 3 free nights or something when you got it, and that's what I used.
You mean
But
Marriott? You mean a Marriott
Oh, I'm
card.
sorry. Yeah, sorry. You guys, I'm older. My brain doesn't work as fast. So you guys just have to be patient with the grandma in the group. So yes, it was the Ritz-Carlton is a Marriott hotel, part of that brand. And I would imagine that it would cost way, way more than 20K to stay in it, and it was a beautiful hotel. I mean, it was gorgeous. I absolutely loved it, and it was lovely, but I 100% would go back and stay at the Park Hyatt and hope that I got some flowers also.
Yeah, I will say the only potential con, like, I would if I go back to Istanbul, I'm 100% staying at the Park Hyatt again. It's not really close to any of the main sites. It's not walking distance, definitely not walking distance to any of the main sites, and so that could be a little bit of a deterrent for some people, but there aren't a ton of Hyatt options in Istanbul, and none of them are close to the main sites, so it's not like I really had an alternative an a Hyatt alternative that would have been better. It is the
The
neighborhood.
Ritz-Carlton wasn't either,
Yeah,
Jess. The Ritz-Carlton wasn't, we had to get a taxi for
yeah.
everywhere, so
It's so the area that the Park Hyatt is in is what's considered the Beverly Hills of Istanbul, so it's a very nice area, a very safe area. I never felt unsafe there. The nice thing was that the Park Hyatt will arrange a taxi for you. We had the concierge arrange a taxi for us every morning when we left. The taxis are very affordable. I think they were like $4 or $5 to go into town. The only issue was, like, sometimes it was hard to get a reliable taxi going back. Istanbul does have good public transportation, they have a tram, so that's one option for people, and the Park Hyatt actually recommended an app called InDrive. I'll try to link that in the show notes, but it's basically an app that calls yellow taxis, and you can sort of bid on how much you wanna pay, and so it's a way of sort of securing a taxi for a price that you're willing to pay without having to haggle, without worrying about getting scammed, so we did end up using that app to get back to the Park Hyatt, and it worked fine, but that was the only thing is, like, transportation getting back was a little bit trickier, than leaving the hotel. But it sounds like a lot of the nicer hotels aren't really in that central area anyways, so I feel like you might have the issue no matter where you stay. As far as things to do in Istanbul, It was amazing. Okay, so my absolute favorite thing we did was we went to a hammam. But before I get into that, Pam is going to tell her hammam story, and y'all do not want to miss this.
Okay, first of all, I'm just going to tell them that I went from London to Istanbul. My daughter that lives there, Lindsay, has always wanted to go to Istanbul. And I was going over there to visit. And she says, Mom, can we go over to Istanbul? And I said, oh, yeah, we'll do that. So we did fly Turkish Airlines. When we flew over, I could only get economy plus. I thought the most amazing thing about economy class on Turkish was how good the food was. Even in economy, it was amazing. Coming back, were able to book business class, and one of the things that I was so happy about that is we were able to use the amazing Turkish airport lounge, one of my favorite lounges. And don't you think that Istanbul has one of the most beautiful airports besides having an incredible lounge, Jess?
Their airport is like a destination in and of itself. It is
It is.
amazing. So
Yeah, it's gorgeous. So we had done several of the sites, and she knew about these hammams, and it's a Turkish bath. It's like all these soap suds, all this stuff. I really didn't know what it was. I wish I'd known a little bit more about what it was, and I probably wouldn't have made the mistake that I made. So we did know that with these hammams, that usually you've got certain days or times that are just for men, and then certain times that are for women. I mean, they're very modest over there. Their culture is that, you kind of separate that type of stuff like bathing and stuff. And so we knew that. So we got over there and unfortunately had not made our appointments for hammam until we got over there. We could find nothing. Absolutely couldn't find anything. It was such an important part. We wanted to experience that. We finally found something at this hammam, and it was a gorgeous hammam. It was beautiful, but it was co-ed. They didn't that we couldn't find the separate times. So there were
I
men.
didn't remember this part. I did
Yes,
not remember it being co-ed. Okay, that
yes,
just makes the story even better.
yes. So there were men and women, and you've got this. I was probably 65. So, I'm a pretty modest person. And we go in there and we bring our bathing suits. Well, I have a nice one piece. And I get in there and I'm getting ready. And the girl that's helping me, the service girl, said, no, this will not work. You cannot wear this bathing suit. You will not get a good experience if you wear this bathing suit. And I'm going, well, this is all I have. She says, well, we have something for you. And she pulls out a paper string bikini. So I'm just, what? Go, I mean, look at me. This is, not going to look good on me. This is going to be horrible. I know men are going to be there, but somehow it's probably one of the worst decisions I've ever made. I let this young girl talk this grandma into wearing this navy blue paper string bikini.
So did you still at this point, you didn't really know what was going to happen at the hammam though, right?
No, I didn't. So I
So maybe that
trusted
was
her.
part of where you're like, oh, this will be fine. You didn't realize what was coming, right?
Right. No, I didn't. But I remember looking at Lindsay, my daughter. She looked at me and let's just say she was doubled over and it took a while for her to get her composure. She was dying over this. So I'm like, I hope I'm covered. I'm walking out and they walk us into this little room where they were bathing us or putting cold water on us to get us ready. So we were kind of clean. And all of a sudden, Lindsay and I are sitting there and all of a sudden there comes in a guy and a girl and another guy and a girl. And I'm like, oh my goodness. These guys are right here looking at grandma in her string bikini. I honestly made no eye contact with anybody. I was so mortified. If I could have crawled out on my hands and knees, I would have. And then the worst part about the whole thing is it didn't matter. All I would have missed with my bathing suit, my one-piece bathing suit, is the bubbles on my stomach. I honestly could have enjoyed that a lot more in that one-piece bathing suit than I did being so mortified in that string bikini. So this
And didn't the string bikini like not hold up very well and
well,
sort of like
no,
just
it was okay.
okay.
You know, to tell you the truth, I didn't look at it. I was so mortified. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to look at anybody else. It was excruciating. I don't think I enjoyed the experience near as much as anybody else would, because I think that's probably the most embarrassed I've been in my life. So the moral of the story is, don't listen to what young girls tell you.
To
Don't wear a
do
one piece to the hammam.
and
That's the
maybe
moral of the
bring a
story.
bikini that you're comfortable in.
Yes. And you know what? If you have a one piece, it would not have ruined my experience. But to
It
this
sounds like it would have made your experience much better.
it would have made it better. And Lindsay has a picture of me I have a towel over it, but she sends it to me every now and then with crying laughter emojis, because she knows how I look like underneath that towel. So it has become a very funny joke and story, but I was completely mortified. So tell us about your experience. I'm sure it was a little less
Did
stressful.
you get to wear a paper string bikini too, Jess?
No, because Pam had told me this story last year. So I went in fully prepared. I will link to the exact website of the hammam that we went to, because I'm probably going to butcher the name, but it was Kilich Ali Pasha Hammam. So I will link to that. And like Pam said, this one was separated by men and women. So women were in the morning, I think from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then men went from like 4:30 to 11, I think, something like that. And so if you're a woman and you're going, you'll go in the morning. And if you're a man, you will go in the evening. It was amazing. I want to go back to Istanbul just to go to the hammam again. And I want to go like every single day. But so how it works is you get there and they give you some like apple tea while you wait, and then they give you a little wrap to put on, and they assign you a locker with a key, and so you go change. I would say most women, a majority of women did go topless, but if you want to wear a bikini top, that is fine. You do have to wear some sort of bottoms. And so it either has to be like, I wore a bikini bottom just because it's going to get wet. And so I didn't want to be wearing just regular underwear. So bring a bikini bottoms, and then you can either go with or without a top depending on your comfort level. So you put this wrap on, go back downstairs, and then they take you into the hammam. And that is where, like Pam said, initially they just pour water all over you, and then you go to a different section, and that's where they take the towel away completely. So you like sit down, and they basically exfoliate and scrub your entire body. And then they put like suds all over your body and like massage them in. And then they shampooed and conditioned my hair. And I feel like that's the cleanest I've been since I was born and got like my very first bath at the hospital, because I swear they cleaned places. I was like, man, I don't think I've ever cleaned there. Like they were getting like behind my ear, and yeah, so they like get your entire, like you will never feel cleaner in your entire life. So it was just, and then afterwards they like dry you off and they wrap your hair up, and you go out and you just like relax in your towel and chat. And so that's what we did. And they do have hair dryers there if you want to, do your hair afterwards. But it was amazing. And it was $65, which is very cheap.
I think we paid a little bit more than that, because after we had the bath, and it's interesting because when I'm thinking a bath, I'm thinking we're getting into water. I'm thinking of a bath. I really didn't know what we were doing. I had no idea. I don't know about you guys, but you, Jess, but I remember the second part when they brought us in, we were laying on marble.
Yeah, it's like a
kind
heated,
of
I
just,
forgot that part. You do lie
right?
down on like a heated marble slab for a
Yeah.
while.
And
So
ours was kind of circular. So,
yes.
and we only had like 6 people. I think there were 4 women and 2 men. But I know that I could have enjoyed that experience a lot more if I had been wearing something different. And afterwards, we did get massages, And that was really nice because then I could relax. And then when we were through, they gave us some herbal teas and some figs and some nuts, and we relaxed. And I did enjoy it once we got past the initial embarrassment
The
part.
paper bikini.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so this place also had an option to add on a massage. We didn't wanna spend all day there just because we didn't have a ton of time in Istanbul, but if I go back, I wanna do the massage also, and I will say this is something you wanna book ahead of time. You can make reservations on the website that I'm gonna link in the show notes, or if you go to a different hammam, you'll still wanna make reservations, and
Make those
so
reservations ahead of time. You don't
yes.
want it stuck in a co-ed group.
Yes, and then when we asked the Park Hyatt to arrange a taxi for us there, and the first thing they said was, "Do you have a reservation?" And we said, "Yes." And so they know, like, that place is very popular and hard, you can't just walk in. So you'll definitely wanna make a reservation. That was my favorite thing we did in Istanbul. Coming in second was, I love my Airbnb experiences, and so we did one with a local guide. His name was Sella, and it was a 4.5 hour walking tour where we got to see Old Town and all of the main attractions that you think of when you think of Istanbul. We saw the Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque, the Cistern, the Grand Bazaar. We sampled street food. It was just an amazing way to spend those 4.5 hours. I will link this experience in the show notes also. It is called Must Do Attractions and Hidden Gems of Old City. We did a private tour with just the four of us, and it was $200. So it was $50 a person, which I feel like is very reasonable for a 4.5 hour walking tour of these sites.
I think that's an amazing price. Lindsay and I did something that was through Viator or something, but we're in a very large group, or, 12 to 20. It's such a better experience if you've got fewer people like you had. One of the things that I found so interesting about Istanbul is that you can go to Europe and go to Asia in one day because it has two sides to it. And so we took a boat over to the Asia side. I love, love, love the little neighborhoods. I know you went to the Umbrella Street. I don't know what that's called, but that area I fell in love with. Just loved it. Yeah. I know I did write a blog post about my experience here. I know I've linked it there, and it was adorable. I just love the little neighborhoods that they had.
Yeah. So, highly recommend Sella and his tour. I also like, he's a local. He has a family. I don't know. I just like supporting like the small business, you know, mom and pop shops that are just one or two people. So, highly recommend that if you go to Istanbul. He was great, super knowledgeable and friendly and funny, and I had a great time with him. And then the third thing we did, we actually booked this through Viator. It was a sunset cruise, a Bosphorus sunset cruise. So I didn't take a boat over to Asia and actually get off the boat, but we did get to go in the water between the two. So like we would look to one side and it was Europe, and we would look to the other side and it was Asia. So that was really cool too. Again, this was $200 for the four of us, so around $50 a person. It was a couple of hours long. This was not a private sunset cruise. I would say there was probably between 30 and 40 people total on the boat, but it includes snacks. They gave us like fruit and hors d'oeuvres. It includes non-alcoholic beverages, and they have a cash bar if you want to buy beer or wine. And so I really liked that also. I liked the hammam and the Airbnb experience more. So if you can only choose one or two, I would go with those. But it was really cool to be able to see, both sides, and the sunset was beautiful. And so I recommend that one also.
I thought the Bosphorus, that whole view was stunning,
Yes.
absolutely gorgeous. And what we did to get over to the Asia side, we just took a ferry. It was just, a few dollars. It was, they let you off, and then you can walk around that area and then get back and cross the Bosphorus again when you're through. Very inexpensive way to, see 2 countries in one day. You know me, hotel hop, let's country hop now.
2 continents in
Continent.
one
2
day.
continents, yes, you're right. Even better. Even better.
Yeah, so it was really, really cool. Like, it was just a cool experience. I was telling my husband, I was like, we have to go back to Istanbul. It was so family friendly. There were parks everywhere. Like, the Istanbul airport has separate security lines for families. The entire thing, it was so family friendly. And there were cats everywhere. My daughter loves cats, and there are cats everywhere. And so she would be in heaven in Istanbul. So I cannot wait to bring her back. I would totally bring her back. So, as you can see, I think this illustrates the importance of not only getting your player 2 on board, but in my case, getting your players 3, 4, 5, and 6 on board. And, use your friends to your advantage when you can split rooms with them, when you can get referrals from them. It's only going to benefit the group to be able to rack up those extra points or not have to spend so many points if you can split the room with them. So, highly recommend planning a trip with friends and getting them on board. And yeah, you won't regret it.
Well, I think now I need to go to Istanbul. And number one thing I want to do is go try out a hammam because that sounds amazing.
And Alex, I'll go back with you if you want to. And that's one of the things that I love because,
You
when I
need a
go with
redo of your hammam.
exactly, I need a redo. When I go with my husband, I have to spend I have to spend all the points myself. But like Jess said, Alex and I will sometimes go. Sometimes the 3 of us have gone. It is so nice when you're splitting the points. It's like, whoa, this was a steal. And so it makes it really nice.
Yeah,
So
you need to go to the hammam, Alex, and it's right up your alley. You'll love it.
I'm more than sold, for sure. So Jess's trip shows us how you can take a luxury trip to an amazing destination like Istanbul for nearly free. Get your friends involved in your new hobby to make it even more fun and get those referral points too. If you want to enjoy all the beauty Istanbul has to offer, make sure to check out the show notes and register for our free masterclass so you can learn how to travel for nearly free too.
Thanks so much for listening to the Travel Hacking Mom Show. Make sure to hit the subscribe or follow button from wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. Want to start jet setting even faster? Follow the links in the show notes to learn about everything we discussed in today's episode. And to stay connected and follow along, follow us on Instagram at Travel Hacking Mom. We can't wait to see where in the world points and miles take you.